Well, hidey ho, friends of the farm. Well, it's just a few days from the first day of fall, and looking back on this entire growing season, I've had one revelation that I think I'm going to turn into action, and that is more onions for next year. So what I've done, and you might have seen in the onion videos, I've always traditionally bought onion plants, and you get them in the spring. They're about 6 inches tall. They're dried, wilted, but some miracle happens when you trim them up, you put them in the ground and water them. They reinvigorate, they come back to life, if you will, and they're back on the swing of things. Well, onion plants aren't always the cheapest, and there is that delay from when the commercial grower harvests the onion plant, trims it, puts it in a box, ships it. I get it. I can't get to it for a day or two, then finally get in the ground. So it's out of the ground for quite a while, and it takes a good week or so for it to kick back in once it's in the ground. And that causes kind of a stunted growth. And from what I've learned, just researching, folks that plant onions from seed seem to have a little bit better end product. So given the cost being pretty much cheaper to go by seed compared to the plant, that's a motivator as well. But the overall finished product, I think, is going to be a little bit better. You tend to get bigger globes and earlier in the season. So that's what I'm going to do today, is plant the onions in seed trays, and then in about 8 weeks, when we're in about November or so, I'm going to go ahead and put those in the ground, let them overwinter, and then in the springtime, when the daylight starts to get long enough, it triggers the plant to start bulbing, and that's when we start to get that rapid bulb growth. And then hopefully we'll get some beautiful onions, and we'll get a lot more of them for less cost per onion. So got a little bit of work to do. Let's get started. Okay. So what I've got is two different varieties of seed. First thing I want to mention about onions, and I mentioned this in the other onion video, is the difference between short day and long day onions. And that's very critical given our latitude in southern United States, southern Arizona. The length of the day in hours is what drives the plant to go into the bulbing phase. Now, if you've bought onion sets from the home centers, those aren't always the correct daylight requirement for this region. They're bought in bulk and distributed throughout the United States. So given our latitude, southern Arizona, we have to have what's called short day onions. And what that does is, when we get the right amount of hours in our summertime, our days are not as long as the northern latitudes. So if you've ever been up northern part of the United States, sun comes up at 4 in the morning, goes down at 10 o'clock at night. Those folks up there need the long day. Us down here, we need the short day onions. So like I said, if you've had those onion sets that you've bought and not paid attention to short day, long day, and they never really turn into onions for you, that's likely the cause. So given our latitude, two different types that I went with for right now is a nice red onion. It's called Red Creole, and Texas Super Sweet. Now, I've had these as a plant before, and I've done red onions, but I can't tell you that they're the Red Creoles. So I'm excited to try this variety here. So I'm going to do one tray of the Texas Super Sweet and another whole tray of the Red Creole. The tray that I'm using has 338 cells. The onions, given that they kind of just grow straight up as a shoot, don't need a real big cell. So I was able to get away with more cells per tray to get the onions started. And if I get full germination of all of these, that's 338 of each that I'll be able to get in the ground. Now I expect to maybe get some doubles that we can pull apart, and we'll do that in another video when we go to plant these guys. So the growing medium that I went with is just Miracle-Gro seed starting potting mix. And it's been a minute since I've done any kind of seed starting. So I kind of researched everything. And one of the things that I did glean out of it was to use actual seed starting mix. And what that does is when the root ball is ready to be pulled out of the seed cell, it pulls out in a nice bundle and doesn't crumble, okay? So if you've ever gotten those pony packs at the home center, you pull them out and they're that nice square or nice round held together ball. That's likely because they're using a seed starting mix, and the mixture of everything inside of it helps to facilitate that. Now, being Miracle-Gro brand, it also does have some Miracle-Gro plant food in it to help get them off on the right foot. So first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna fill all the cells with the dry seed starting mix, and then we're gonna wet it down. Okay, I've got all the cells filled, and the next thing we're supposed to do is wet it down. And that way I think when we add the seeds and then we water it again, it doesn't blow the seeds out of the cells. So one thing I did learn is the higher up you go, the less impact and less flushing and violent it is in the cells. So you gotta let it rain. All right, now we just make dimples in each of the cells from seeds. All right, I got this little mini small seeder, and you just take the plastic cover off. It's got a dial, and for each dial, there's a smaller size hole that allows the seed to come down into the needle nose of it, then you can drop it in. So when you have tiny seeds like this, I guess this is the way to go. So let's give it a shot. These will work pretty good. Now that I said that. I'm gonna try going up one size and see if it's a disaster or not. Actually, I think it's better. Less tapping. Less taparoo. All right, I declare number 2 the official size setting for Meeker Farms onion seedings. All right, the last thing we do now that we've got all the seeds in each cell is cover it up. Just a nice layer. I'm thinking the manufacturer of these seed trays knows exactly how much mix is in one of these bags, because it is perfect. Tuck those dudes in. All right, now we're going to do one more watering, but I'm going to do that on the ground. All right, so we've got both trays of the short day onions put in. We've got the red Creoles over here, and I went ahead and labeled it because I could easily get them confused. And over here are the Texas yellows. So the seed packet said about 7 to 10 days to germinate. So we're gonna water these twice a day. I'm gonna keep them on the back patio because it's just gonna be easier for us to water it twice a day if we just have to step out the back door instead of walk all the way out to the garden. And we have to do it with the watering can instead of the irrigation system. So I will keep everybody abreast of how these guys do when they pop up. I know a lot of the cells got 2s and 3s as far as seeds, but a lot of them just got 1. So I'm hoping that we'll have enough germination. I imagine some of them will be blank, and that's okay given the number that we have here. And first time we're trying it. So we'll see. It's my first time doing the onions by seed. Hopefully we have good luck. And hopefully in about 8 weeks, we'll be able to transplant these into the ground. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. You take it easy.
Watch out, dog.